Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you for meeting with us. Can you tell me what your role is with the District of Muskoka?
Sure. So I'm Jeff Lehman. I'm the chair of the District Municipal Council. There are 23 of us from across the district, and I work for council as the head of council, and I work for the people of Muskoka. I represent Muskoka to the Ontario and federal governments, trying to advocate for the things we need here in the district. And I try and help council make good decisions, try and provide some leadership on some of the big issues affecting our communities.
Well, that's perfect, because we're going to dive right into those.
Right on.
We're going to talk today about food insecurity. Not knowing if you will be able to afford food or not knowing when your next meal will be is a growing public health crisis.
Absolutely.
And people and families in Muskoka are feeling that.
Yeah.
You know, it's really dire. Can you tell us a bit about what you've seen and heard across the district?
Sure. Well, food insecurity has been an issue for decades, and a worsening issue across Ontario and certainly here in Muskoka, but it's become particularly bad in the last year or two with inflation, inflation in the price of food, but also other cost of living expenses growing considerably. So cost of housing, cost of transportation, cost of everything has outpaced the growth in incomes. And of course, we live in a time, unfortunately, where the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. We're seeing more income polarization, and that's happening at the same time that the cost of living is going up, and particularly the price of food. So what I'm hearing from food support organizations, from people who work with marginalized communities, even working families, is that the need is particularly bad right now. And of course, unfortunately, what we see is people skimping on food because it is sometimes where they feel they have to make that choice. If your choice is between making rent or getting evicted and buying healthy food, unfortunately, many people are forced to sacrifice healthy food choices. So I do think the problem is getting worse.
Yeah, definitely. And really what's interesting is the data shows us that the fastest growing number of people who experience food insecurity are those whose main source of income is employment. You know, community members who access social assistance, but falling deeper into poverty. I'm interested in what actions the District Council has taken to address these causes of food insecurity in Muskoka.
So we act directly to support food support organizations, which means money. We provide through our community grants program every year funding that goes to different organizations, everything from the Winter Pantry in Lake of Bays to the table in Huntsville, Knox Presbyterian Church, everybody or many organizations who are operating food support programs. But that is treating the symptom. Right. It is not the root cause. The root causes are very complicated, but at the root often is the math doesn't work.
Right.
The money is insufficient, whether we're talking about social assistance rates, which can't come close to providing basic needs, or, as you rightly say, families where one or both parents are in some cases both parents are working, but income levels just are insufficient. And you can't separate these issues: food insecurity, housing, the incredibly high cost of housing, the cost of transportation, things like childcare and other necessities. And so when you put all of those things together and the math is increasingly not working, even if you are working, earning employment income, it can be just devastating. It's so difficult, and you can feel like you're never going to get ahead or even get your head above water. So we at District Council, I think, we're trying to help people in each of these areas with what I would call basic needs, and housing is, of course, probably the number one. Because it's an area where the district, we deliver services. We are the social housing organization here in Muskoka. We're trying to get more built. But we also are working across the housing market to try and get more attainable housing built. And what I mean by that, primarily, the biggest need is apartments. Mm-hmm. Apartments for seniors, apartments for single individuals, apartments for smaller families, at rents that you can also still meet your other basic needs if you're working.
Right. What more can be done?
Yeah, I think at the root of all of this is is the need for greater income, both for those who are on social assistance. So social assistance rates are wholly insufficient. And that's a choice that government makes, and people can influence that choice. They can influence that choice by raising their voices, by advocating, and District Council has done just that as well.
Right.
When we're talking about people who are working and income levels that aren't sufficient, that gets to the broader question of what's our economy? What are jobs going to be like in the future in Muskoka? The minimum wage rate was just raised, but when you look at that minimum wage level, it's still well below a living wage. And I think the broader question is, if companies are struggling to create higher paying jobs, what we need to be doing is trying to work with them to grow that value added part of the economy and try and urge a living wage to become a broader policy.
And how would you do that?
Yeah, so this gets to economic development. How do we try and make sure that organizations that are creating good jobs are able to succeed here and those jobs don't go down south? How do we try and encourage a situation where industries like the tourism industry, the construction industry are able to pay a living wage and move forward? And that's something that actually the district has not particularly played a role in the past. It is something that larger centers across the province are starting to do, and I think that's something that on a community level we work with chambers of commerce,
right.
We work with tourism's marketing organizations, those sorts of things. But ultimately, if that's not translating into higher wages for workers, then we're not addressing the problem. When we're talking about root causes and all of the issues that affect people's household budgets and money situations, transportation in Muskoka is a uniquely difficult challenge. Like any rural and northern area, just getting between communities or even within communities to get services, to get food, is very, very expensive. I can sound a hopeful note here because transportation is one of the things that the district wants to try and do better on in terms of helping people with the solution. The district is moving to an on-demand transit system, which will be heavily subsidized, that should help people who need to get from Kilworthy to Gravenhurst to get to the grocery store or Van Coonan into Bracebridge. It will be a system that you can book. You can book the ride at different times, and it works kind of like a van pool, so multiple people get picked up, get brought to the single location or a couple of destinations that are close by. And we have a new software platform that will help make those rides hopefully quicker, more dignified solution for people.
What can Muskoka community members do if they want to take action? What can they do to make their voices heard?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a few things you can do. So raising your voice looks like writing to your local elected representatives. That includes me, by the way, but to your mayors and councils, but especially, I would say, to the provincial government who do set social assistance rates, who have in the past operated basic income programs, and to the federal government, because in our complicated system of government in Canada, we have 4 levels of government here in Muskoka, and each do touch on this in a way. But particularly when it comes to the issue of basic income and social assistance rates, those decisions are made by the province of Ontario.
Right, right. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for chatting with us today. It's been very insightful, and we appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you.